I'm sure you guys have heard of this story, but if you guys have not heard about what has happened to Mahik Bukhari and Ansreen Bukhari, then you guys are in for an absolute shock, because this video goes into a deep analysis of how this TikTok star went through to blackmail and it turned out to be murder, and how she's just been convicted and going to spend the rest of her life in prison. Hey guys, it's Murad Muradi. Hopefully you guys are all doing well today. Back at it again with another video. If you have not subscribed, guys, click that button. It is daily and consistent content. And back at it again with another in-depth analysis video, a case study of what we see of this horrifying story. So listen closely, guys, for what this is about if you guys have not heard about it. Mahik Bukhari was a burgeoning TikTok star with a mother who enthusiastically supported her influencer daughter, and they both were very proud about it. But an ill-fated affair saw both their lives unravel into deceit, lies, blackmail, and ultimately murder. Mahik Bukhari from Stoke-on-Trent, set her sights on being a social media full-time content creator. She dropped out of university. It was starting to pay off. She had 129,000 followers and was earning a decent income through brand promotions with parties and product launch events up and down the country. She also boasted about having an elite relationship with her mother Ansreen, who joined her videos. But when Ansreen had an affair on her husband and met 21-year-old Saqib Hussain, it sparked a chain of events that ended into a horrific tragedy. Ansreen and Saqib first began chatting online through a video app called Azar. They exchanged numbers and were soon talking every single day. The relationship was on and off, but lasted about 3 years. Ansreen was flattered that Saqib would show interest in her. They met numerous times, hotels, restaurants, shisha lounges, but in 2021, the relationship started to turn sour. Ansreen tried to break it off and Saqib was very upset about this. He struggled to deal with her rejection. He pleaded with her to reconsider. Things escalated, and when Ansreen did not listen and wanted it to be completely cut off, Saqib then threatened to send explicit material of his ex-lover Ansreen to her husband. At the end of the year, Ansreen did not know what to do. She cracked under pressure and told her daughter everything. Her daughter goes by the name of Mahik Bukhari for those who are following. At the end of the year, Mahik decided to then take matters into her own hands, the daughter. Knowing the family of Saqib and having been with them throughout, I know they would have dealt with Saqib and stopped him from doing what he was doing, said a deputy. If the Bukharis would have spoken to the police, this would not have happened. It would not have escalated to this stage. In a bid to help her mother, check this out, guys, Mahik Bukhari turned to her friend, a car mechanic called Rikan Karwan. The pair then created this intricate plan to plot to lure Saqib to a meeting by offering over £3,000. This was the amount of money he'd complained he'd spent on Ansreen whilst they were lovers. Rikan enlisted the help of his best friend Raiz Jamal, as well as Raiz's cousin Amir Jamal, and other friends as well involved in when it comes to this car mechanic and this plan and setting up Saqib. In the early hours of 11th of February 2022, guys, happened early last year, the group arrived at a Tesco supermarket in Leicester and waited for Saqib secretly because the plan was to ambush him. Saqib hit in his hometown, Banbury. He was trying to arrange a lift to get to Leicester to receive his £3,000 from Ansreen, which is where he expected to meet her, unbeknownst to him that there would be any kind of ambush. He asked a few friends. One of them, Hashim, offered to drive. Hashim did not have any idea that what was going on. He was just a friend of Saqib's and he just agreed to drive Saqib to Leicester on the night in question. He was completely innocent. He knew nothing about anything that was going wrong. He was purely at the wrong place at the wrong time. 1:17 in the morning, Saqib and Hashim arrived at the Tesco car park. They slowed down and waited for a few seconds, anticipating to see Ansreen's car so they can get out and do an exchange, take the money, there would be no tapes, and this would be end of the whole issue. However, they sensed that something was wrong. They quickly left the scene, but their Skoda was followed by two different cars. Mahik and Ansreen trial heard that they were passengers in the Audi. At this point, police knew from phone records that Mahik called Saqib. It got quite heated in that phone call, but we never know what he said, but words are exchanged. 1 minute after this conversation, Saqib decides to call 999 whilst his friend Hashim's in the car, driving. He told the operator he was a passenger in a car that was being followed. He said the car behind was trying to ram him off the road. The frantic call lasted about 5 minutes as Saqib and Hashim continued down the dual carriageway, going through a red light in an effort to lose their pursuers. One of the first things he talks about is being blocked in, and sure enough, the footage from a car dealership clearly shows the car being blocked in. You can hear on the call Saqib says to Hashim, send it, which is an indication to Hashim for them to just go and get out of here. We don't like what's happening. At that point, you can clearly imagine the fear and worry that's going through their minds, especially Hashim not knowing what he's gotten himself into. The final moments are extremely distressing. Towards the end, the line goes completely silent for 10 seconds before the operator asks if Saqib is still there. The call becomes emotional, quite upsetting, and you can hear that they're right behind them, and then scream and quiet. The aftermath. Just after 1:30 in the morning, a recovery car was traveling along the A46 when he saw a car on fire next to a tree. After realizing no one had called the police, he blocked off the road with his truck. The first police officers arrived about 10 minutes later, closely followed by firefighters. After the fire was put out, one of the police officers saw the bodies of 2 people in the car. Saqib and Hashim were later on identified. Further up the road, the Audi and seat drivers pulled over. Mahik took over as driver of the Audi and Natasha the seat. Then they headed back to Leicester to lay low. Once they arrived in the city, they pulled up in Sutton, a quiet place, away from prying eyes. The group got out of the cars and began walking the streets. They were spotted at various moments, picked up on CCTV. Officers later realized that they were doing this because they were preparing to have a cover story, an alibi. Then they walked home or were either dropped off, leaving both Saqib and Hashim dead in a car rammed across the road as they were being chased off with the intent to kill. Wow. The next morning, they were arrested and taken into custody. They were woken up by the sound of the police speaking to Mahik's brother and father. At this point, Mahik noticed she had a raft of missed calls from Raiz, who knew police had found Natasha. Whilst officers from Staffordshire Police continued to speak to the male members of the house, Mahik called Raiz back. She then sent a text to her mother in the next room explaining what she would say to officers. Dressed in a pink, fluffy, oversized hoodie, Mahik lied to the police, saying that on the night of the crash they had been on their way to Nottingham for a social media event. The pair were later arrested and taken to a police station in Leicester. Whilst being interviewed in custody, Mahik continued to lie and lie and lie. But when police played Sahib's 999 call right to her face, she broke down and cried, and said Saqib lied way too much. The Bukharis and 6 others are later charged with murder. One of those being Mohammed Patel, who was later cleared of all charges as he went to tell the police the full story and revealed what happened during the chase. Just like that, during the trial, her confident demeanor was soon gone. She burst into tears as the jury found both mother and daughter guilty of 2 counts of murder. Wow. After the verdict, Saqib's cousin spoke to the BBC, explained the pain the families had gone through to reach to this point. So the mother and the daughter both face significant sentences to life in prison, with Mahik ordered to serve at least 31 years and 8 months and Ansreen given a minimum term of 26 years and 9 months. This is the crazy story of how a mother and a daughter both got involved with a significant murder case, tried to ambush and chase them off the dual carriageway with multiple other cars of their friends who've also been convicted as well, and both of these boys died in their car. I really feel sorry for Hashim. He was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. He didn't do anything. He was simply doing a favor for a friend. He had no idea what was going on, and he was put in a bad situation by his friend Saqib. Saqib himself threatened to leak that revenge porn. Ansreen, instead of going to her husband who was having an affair on her husband in any kind of way, or going to the police, which could have prevented all of this from happening, decided to bring her daughter involved in this, and both of them are now convicted and are in jail for life. especially as the daughter Mahik had this social media, promising career that she was going to have on TikTok, and that just vanished between her eyes because she decided to take it upon herself to try and murder this boy and try to get everybody else and ambush him. It is an absolutely horrific story. This case has been going on for so long, and only yesterday it's been announced that they both have been convicted for a significant amount of time in prison. It is a horrifying story. I've received some of your messages about wanting to discuss this in depth, and I thought that I would begin to do stories like this that I find harrowing, to discuss them in long form content for you guys over here on this channel. Do comment down below if you guys have enjoyed this content, in terms of the fact that, it's been interesting for you guys to hear. It's been just a shocking story, guys. Absolutely shocking. Wild. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Click that button for daily and consistent content. Subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It's everyday fresh content 24/7, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.